as a delegate, there's not too terribly much we can do, except perhaps having the state schools, we actually talked about this, perhaps having the state schools follow the example of California Institute of Technology and not allow race to be part of the admissions decision. So.
When I saw that question, I found it very interesting too. And I wondered, why aren't the most qualified students getting into the schools that they need to, that they want to, that they deserve to? So I understand the aspect of bringing in a variety of folks, but I still can't ever disagree with, and it sounds like it's almost a punishment. You have these students that work their butts off for years to get into the school that has the program that they want and need and deserve, and that they will be the best at. And then they're excluded.
I think part of the problem that we're having here is instead of looking at the Asian community as examples of all the hard work that the students are doing and the parents are doing and the parent involvement, that's such an asset. And instead our society is like trying to punish the Asian community for doing so well. It seems like that's what's happening here, and we need to look at what is the Asian community doing right, and how do we bring all the other groups up to a high level. That's not happening. I mean, they're talking about trying to close the gap. We're trying to close the gap in education, and whatever is happening it's not working very well right now. Common Core State Standards doesn't seem to be working. But something's going right with the Asians, though. When you look at the Asians, and they're always the top on the list on all of the testing that is taking place. So something's going right, and we should look at that and not say, okay, we need to penalize the Asian for not getting, for getting into college, for getting into the magnets at MCPS. I mean, that's another issue. The magnet schools. I asked the MCC PTA leader who works with the GT and said, what is the criteria to get into these magnet schools? And do you know if there's any discrimination going on? And she could not give me a clear answer. And she said, it's not as clear as it used to be. It's not based on just objective. They don't look at just test scores. There's more subjectivity involved. And I think what we need is more transparency at all levels on how you need to know what criteria you should be working for. What are the students being evaluated against? I mean, is it clear? I don't think, especially with college admission, you might know some basic things that they're looking for, but it would help to have more transparency on what they're looking for. They say, oh, we're looking at the whole child, and just because they might have done really well on the test, but you need to have more clear answers on what they're looking for. Also, let's see. Another problem I think that's happening is that when colleges are trying to admit students, they are looking at how Asians are comparing to other Asians and getting them accepted into college. They're not looking at how Asians are compared to the whole applicant pool. So I think that is something that should be corrected if they're currently just looking at comparing Asians to Asians in the applicant pool. So I think, in culture, it's a matter of culture, and it's a matter of, I think that the Asian community is doing a lot of things right, and they should not be penalized. We should be looking at what other groups should be doing, other ethnicities or cultures should be doing to improve, to raise their bar. Because, it's a very high bar, and the Asian community should be very proud of what they're doing and not feel like they're being penalized for it. So, thanks.
Excuse me? So I started asking those questions. Now, if you grew up like I did, it didn't matter. We're humans. My father and mother were extremely conscious of that. You know, I went to school. It absolutely made no difference. And in the military, it doesn't make any difference, right? Your platoon sergeant, your captain, it doesn't matter what gender, it doesn't matter what race. It doesn't matter. You have a job to do.
With respect to whether or not race is ever a permissible factor, I was a sophomore in college in 1978 when the Bakke versus Regents of California was decided by the Supreme Court. And the Bakke decision upheld race as a relevant and meaningful factor in admissions. And I kind of, when that came out, I kind of saw my chances of getting into law school plummet. They couldn't beat me then, they're not going to beat me now. I don't believe that race should be a factor. I believe education and academia must be a meritocracy. If you have the grades, if you have the skills, if you have the ability to study hard and get good grades, again, you're going to get tired of hearing about my son, but my son, you know, when we told him he needs to join the pep band, when he needs to join the yearbook, he's like, Dad, I'm in school. I'm not going to be a journalist. I'm not going to be a musician. He actually is going to be a professor, so he was right. But his position was, and I must vindicate it, that, you know, it's got to be a meritocracy. When you start putting these other factors in and watering down or dumbing down the application and the admission decision, I think it's a recipe for disaster. So.
If you listen to what the community's saying, I think that will help you know, will help you guide you on what you need to do. I mean, I'm hearing from the Asian community, you don't want to have desegregation, and that's something that you need to listen to. This is, what's the purpose of doing that? I don't really see the purpose of doing that. And I want the best doctors to be working on me. I want to know that the people that got accepted into these wonderful medical schools were it's based on their ability in getting there, not based on the color of their skin and where they came from. So,